Yeah, so welcome. I hope you're having a great time. Yeah, and welcome once again to Brand Up Connects, where we drive conversations for collective growth. And today we'll be discussing, we have a fantastic lineup for you, and we'll be discussing the impact of storytelling in building communities, right? And before we start, I believe we all have stories that we've heard from our parents, we've heard from our. Can anyone share any story from or experience from growing up that you felt you could resonate to? Just think about it. It could be an advertisement, it could be a book you read, it could be a bedtime stories. I believe the IDBs here, they read bedtime stories to you, so you can resonate to it. Yeah, and then you think about it, and then you sit back, and then you realize how these stories shaped us. It's foster engagement. It's also gave us some sense of belonging, right, growing up. And before we kick in, I have with me two brilliant guest speakers, a social media manager, Yaira. Can you please join us here? Let's give it up for her. And James, who leads strategy and growth at Sculptor. And yes, I know you saw on the flyers that Twins Don't Beg were supposed to join us, but unfortunately, they had to attend to something. Eventually, they'll join us here later. But I mean, if there's any photographer here, do we have any photographer around? I can see someone pointing at someone. Do you have a photographer around? Okay, all right. All right, so tonight, we are going to discuss about the impact of storytelling in building communities, right? And we know storytelling aren't just for kids, but how we can use these stories to shape us, how we can use these stories to build communities as individuals. And before we kick in, I'd like to ask a quick question. What's one story from a book, an advertisement, or that has stuck with us that you still can resonate to? Can I get your hands? Any story? It could be an advertisement. Yeah, you can share with us.
There was a little boy who was going to the library. He met some thugs on the road, and they were introducing him to smoking and other sexual activity.
Yeah.
So shit, and then he didn't saw shit.
He didn't saw shit.
So those kind of things resonated with some of us.
Yeah.
It's been there.
Okay.
And even now, when you make mention of it, some people are able to relate to it. So yeah.
Any other person?
It was the story of an author, and she shared that at one point in her life, she was very, very broke. She didn't have any money, and she ended up getting paid from someone for something that she did, and it was very, very late payment. And she went to the bank and asked if she can cash the check and receive the money in advance, but because of her history, she just couldn't. The bank denied it. And so at that point in time, she decided that she would never be in that position again. And I think her story was very relatable for many reasons, because many of us are in tight situations at times,
Right.
but also what she did with that story. After telling that story and after experiencing that, she turned around and became a successful business owner and helps other people to start their businesses and expand their businesses. So just thought
Great.
about that.
Thank you so much for sharing. And isn't it amazing how storytelling evokes some sort of emotional sentiment, you know? So with that being said, right, and with that in mind, I would like to start with Yaira. She's the social media manager. And Yaira, can you please introduce yourself? Who are you, Yaira?
Hi everyone. My name is Yaira Nutako. I am a social media manager, content strategist. I also am co-founder for a creative media agency called Fuvio. It's a 360 content creation agency. So you think visual, you think content, you think Fuvio. I have been in the content creation, social media, storytelling space for at least 5 years now. And it's an interesting space to be in. Every year you find out that the timeline changes. How people consume the stories you tell change. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to share my knowledge on this.
Great. James,
Hi,
who are you?
I'm good. I'm very good.
Good to know. All right, James, can you share a little bit about yourself with the audience?
I call myself a thinker, basically.
Yeah.
I like to see brands grow, whether it's from scratch, whether it's from is at a mid stage, or whether it's even global. I just get excited seeing brands grow. I think in simple form, that's me.
Simple from that too. Great. Okay, Yaira. So you're a social media manager, right? And you are in the business of crafting stories that engage and build communities. Can you share with us how you leverage storytelling to create engaging content to build brands?
How do you leverage storytelling to, help brands move forward? For me, I think when it comes to telling stories, I always tell the people that I work with that even as creative as you are, it's not about you, right? Your creative skills matter. How you see things matter. Your perspective on the thing matters. But then the end goal is how do you help the client solve their problem? How do you help that business go from point A to point B without having to do the work themselves? The reason why they came to you. So when it comes to, helping brands leverage the stories, the first thing I always say is that understand what the client wants. Understand what the brand is looking for before you get creative. I've had a lot of encounters where somebody says, oh, I want a video, and I want to be sitting down when I do the video. And then the creative goes, visualizes this entire thing about how they will light it, about how they will make the person pop. And then they tell the client their vision, and they're like, nope, that's not what I want, right? So before you even start thinking about helping any brand leverage a story, think, what do they want? And if I say what do they want, to the basic level, assume you know nothing and understand to the basics of the basics what that brand wants. And that's what I do with a lot of my projects. If you've ever been on any project with me, I ask too many questions. Sometimes, people don't like me for that. But I ask way too many questions. I'm like, okay, when you sit down, how do you want to look? Because, you can never be too sure. So ask a lot of questions. Involve the client in the process. Do not assume they don't have the tech know-how, so they wouldn't be able to understand what you're trying to say. Say it in the layest term for them to understand. Say it in the easiest way for them to understand. If you're trying to say, I'm shooting 4K resolution and they won't understand, tell them, it will be very sharp. Tell them like that, right? Try and involve the client in the process. That way, when the story or the video or the content or whatever it is you're designing comes out, they feel like they're part of it.
Yeah.
And that way, when they're criticizing it, they criticize it with love. They don't say, I wasn't a part of that, so I don't like it, make the logo bigger. They don't do that because they were part of the reason why you designed that. So to make brand stories, pop, leverage their brand messaging, include them in the process. Don't leave them outside and do the creative thing on the side and then hope that, I blow their mind. Make them a part of the process, put them in there, and then as much as you're creative, keep at the back of your mind that you are solving a problem. You are a problem solver. That's why the client came to you. So yeah, be a problem solver. Don't let the creativity cover the actual reason why the person came to you. So yeah, that's how I, leverage what I can do for brands to tell their stories.
Great. So James, what's your take? So James does very great design. He doesn't like to be called a designer. He says he's not a designer, but he does great designs. What's your take on storytelling when it comes to using platforms, tools, with technology, basically?
Okay, so
Yeah.
There's everything. I'll tell you some story. There was a time Sculptor, we are big on three things: impact, we are big on advancement, and the third one you know later. Doing these things is not just extrinsic, we are big on the in-house as well. We have what we call daily diff. Daily diff means we are intentional about studying something every day. We have a channel, we use Slack by the way. We have a channel where we place what we've learned, each and every one states what's the new thing you learn. And I think one of our sessions, one of the designers was like, he needs us to pay for certain AI tools to for him to advance himself. And the question was like, before AI, what's really happening? Right? I honestly do believe tools are cool, tools are great. You could use all the Photoshops, you could use anything. We can hire someone who uses just Canva. And there's nothing wrong with it. The thing is that you need to really, really feed yourself. Like, how often do you read? How often are you intentional about looking at things around? She said I speak in the capacity of a designer. I don't design, I'm a graphic designer. But one of the ways I've been able to learn, please don't beat me, proportions, is by watching billboards. I remember I think it was in tech, I had tons of flyers. It was crazy. If you enter my locker, I don't know whether it's a wardrobe or a cabinet, it was just flyers. And I'll be asking, why is this font that? Why is this font that? Telling the story as a designer, I know we always get excited when you're reading or you're explaining our logos. The logo means this. Why I tell people that logo doesn't mean anything. It does not compose you for a logo to mean that X, your legs here is a horse, your this is a what. It's really not necessary. But nevertheless, I think the tools help us to advance whatever we think. They actually put us in a position where we are able to make life better and easier. I'll give you a scenario. The Black Lives Matter some years ago, even though there's a whole politics to it, I realized that one of the things that really stood out was when they had this big graffiti done on the street. First and foremost, if you do graffiti, your cans are your tools. If you're a fashion designer, your stitches are your tools. If you are, what are you? Anything you do, you're an accountant. The way you even present your balance sheet are tools. Like, basically everything you do, I think are tools. You're just big on these big generative AIs, Photoshop, Illustrator, and make it look like once I'm big on these things, I can design. But I honestly think build yourself first. Tell stories from a deep part. Strategy is big. What do I want to do? How do I translate it? I think basically you'll be fine.
Yeah, so you mentioned strategy. So what do you think are some of the effective strategies for using visuals to enhance storytelling? And before you say that, I think you also mentioned about fashion designing. And I would like to say, you can be a brand, you can own a business, and as a brand owner or as a CEO, what exactly are you? Let's say for a fashion designer, what story are you? You have to be different from other people. What's the story behind your brand, behind the fabric or the clothes that you bring out for people to purchase? You can tell a story along the lines of, how many strands you used, how the origin of the fabric. That's telling a story to people. So people see this online, people see the whole origin of everything you're doing, and it's like they can resonate to it. It brings some sort of, some sense of belonging. I'd rather pick a brand who I go on their Instagram and I read this about the whole fabric, the whole process of the brand, and then I see, I can resonate to it. It gives me some sort of emotional sentiment than go to another brand and then it's like, oh, just purchase this. It's because it's nice, you like the color, So I believe telling stories about your brand also and then making people resonate to it, it's also like important for brands and business owners as well. So back to the question on strategy.
Strategy is a big word.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's just a big word. Yeah, but I think we've missed out on Joshua Cleopas.
He is.
No, I want to introduce
Please
I want
introduce
to
him.
introduce him
No,
myself,
please
but-
introduce him.
No, I
yeah.
don't want him to. I want to introduce him by this.
Okay.
I've known Cleopas for like so long. I think he's one of the people that have inspired me to do what I do. Like seeing him, I think you were in high school. I was in high school, I was in tech final year, and seeing what he was doing, I was like, this is really big. Tying this to what strategy is, right? Seeing him do what he did, it's like saying, I'm a fashion designer. Who inspires me? Number one, who inspires me? there's a big thing what we call now inspirations.
Yeah.
Some will still will say it's inspirations. Cool. One of the biggest things I think in building your strategies is to gather a lot of inspirations. We call in Scotta we have series, we have processes. We do what we call deep dives. We ask you questions that sometimes not even relevant. An example is we're building an identity for an oil company, put the whole staff in the room, and then we ask them, what's your kind of man? Right? What's your kind of woman? And everyone was like, really, can we talk about oil? Can we talk about volumes? Can we talk about... But what actually did was that we were trying to understand what kinds of people were running the brand.
Yeah.
Right? Your kind of woman, your kind of vacation, your kind of cars could easily place you in a certain category to help you even define how we wanted to define it. Being a startup, a young business, working in an organization, trying to build your personal brand, trying to probably even get promotion, stuff like that. First, research. Secondly, get a lot of inspirations, as many as possible. As many as possible. Put them together. There are a lot of tools right now. If you're a photographer, if you're a designer, there's so many tools. Pinterest is like the biggest thing. I know our designers will be big on the Behance. Yeah, I still do a lot of Pinterest. So I think first and foremost, when you really do research, it even helps you shape your narrative, right? An example, I want to be a fashion designer. Probably you only thought I wanted to just do nice clothing for women, maybe what could do a runway show. But doing research could even make you even understand that there's a big market for children.
Yeah.
How do I build this market for these children? Then, after identifying all these things, the question is, because you've gone deep into what exactly you want to do, you don't just tell your story by saying, I sell shoes or I craft handbags that is peculiar as that. Because it's really deep, you know when I'm telling your story, strategy-wise, that's from the research phase, putting all your whole thoughts together, understanding what your market is, what we will call competitor. Personally, we think there's more collaboration and competition now. Once you put these things together and understanding what your unique selling points is, the question is now, how do I even tell the story along the lines of my unique selling points? Probably your unique selling points being a fashion designer, doing children's clothes, that you're doing children's clothes to make children happy and mothers cool. Making children happy, how do you even tell stories along the lines of making children happy? Taking cool photographies of children in a park, children playing games, children a birthday, not necessarily putting a dress and write 25 CDs, right? So putting all of these things together, I think story-wise, strategy-wise, it makes everybody's life easy.
Joshua, yeah, so what's it like in building communities? How do you tell stories and leverage that and in building communities, basically?
Okay, so before that, I'm going to introduce myself and what I do so it's
Okay.
easier. My name is Joshua Cleopas. I run a studio called VOM. That means Voice of My Eyes. It's a poetic wordplay on how we visualize things in the world.
He's a
And
Okay.
concerning your question about building communities with stories, I think the word story could be very intimidating for a lot of people, and adding community on top of it makes it feel like I need a whole clan or
Right.
like a large number of people to make it worth it. I would make this very biblical, right? Even the Bible says, where two or more are gathered, God is there.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if you have more than two people, you have a community.
Yeah.
So the question would be, I'm going to give you an example. We have a client right now who offers education on metal welding. Now, it's a very male-dominated industry. Barely any women see women welders in the world. So naturally, you would have people apply, and out of 100 applications, only one person is a girl. Now, we have wanted to change that perception to let more women apply for this particular metal welding course. And it was a very simple problem. It was a problem of representation. They weren't seeing themselves in that place. If you see a flyer for any school advertising for a welder, it's a guy. If you watch a video, it's a guy. So our approach was very simple. How do we change the whole narrative of the idea of who has to do this and who gets to do this? So it was just a rule of proportions. So for instance, if we have a photo shoot, there are 5 girls and 1 guy. We just flip the whole thing upside down, and there were way more girl representations than there were men. And the effect was pretty astronomical. In less than 2 years, the number of girls who were applying for the STIC program tripled. And it was a really simple thing that we did. Women weren't seeing themselves in that position. So we started telling the stories of the girls who had taken that journey. So this person says, oh, when I saw it, it was like this, I was scared. But when I saw this other lady doing it, I felt like I could too. So we ended up building a whole community for women welders, and hearing other people's stories inspired them. So they really did the community building by passing the message along to other girls like themselves. That I thought I couldn't do this a year ago. Now today I'm working at Tallow, today I'm working at Harlequin Oil and Gas. I'm making $700 a month. And you're like, really? Doing welding as a lady? It turns out more companies even wanted to hire more women welders than men. But the representation was missing. So by introducing just this change of proportions, they ended up creating a whole community for themselves, bringing in more girls, and that's how the whole community building starts. So I believe if you identify a certain problem, don't try to deepen it too much, because things in Ghana are very difficult to try and gather data to make decisions. I believe you have to start, and on the way you figure things out and you go.
Yeah, you're right. So what are some of the biggest challenges as a content creator? I mean, you manage brands, businesses. What are some of the biggest challenges you face when it comes to storytelling with your audience?
I think let me start from one. I think one of the biggest challenges I have faced as a storyteller is finding the right language. I think in the earlier session, Maxwell said something about that. You can have an idea of what you want to say, but then you may not say how it should come out, right? And most of the time, as creatives, you go into a project, the client tells you they want A, and then you communicate A, and they're like, that's not actually what I want, right? So it's finding the right language and being able to communicate exactly what the end goal should be. So the challenge is that balance. Sometimes you go into a project and you have like the perfect idea of how this thing should be executed. You have this usually 2 grand ideas. You have how you're going to execute it, what gear you need, how many people you need on the crew, how long it's going to take, and then you get hit with like, we only have 3 days. I think one of those things for me recently was a project we did with Sculptor, the team at Sculptor. We worked on a campaign. And then the campaign, the conversation started, and he was just like, oh, there's this campaign we're supposed to work on. And I was like, okay. That's just kind of how it began. And then I was like, okay, tell me about it. They told me the story. They're like, we have 1 week to complete it. And usually that 1 week is my ideation phase. I was like, 1 week? That included my weekend. So I was like, okay, how do we fasten the process? So there and there, I sat down, tried to do a mood board, sketched everything together, sat with the team. I'm like, hey, this is what I have. Does this align with what we're going for? They're like, yes, but then can we tweak this? Can we change that? We run that by the clients. They're like, perfect, let's go for it. But then it doesn't end there. The client said perfect doesn't mean go ahead and shoot. It's like, okay, I have done this thing. I have the go ahead, but then does it tell the story that needs to be told? Does it pass the message across? So we ended up scrapping that entire story and then changing all the characters in the commercial into something entirely different within our 1 week timeline, and then tried our best to deliver. Now, my challenge in that situation was, I am not a very good think on the spot person, because I have undiagnosed ADHD, so I have too many ideas. I have way too many ideas that are sometimes too out of my own pocket. I can't fund them, but then I have them. And thinking on the spot for me it gets me overwhelmed, but then in that process, I had to sit down and say, focus, pick the thing, and then work on it. And at the end of the day, when we finished that campaign, it was one of the campaigns I loved working on. James will tell you. We didn't sleep, we were all awake. We'll be awake till like 2 a.m., just brainstorming. Okay, we've developed this character. We have given it everything. Then at 2 a.m. somebody say, what if we make the character taller? I'm like, come on. Right? So it's finding the language of what the end goal, what the end message should be, and then trying to translate that creatively through what you do, through your design, through your, whatever it is you're doing, finding what. So I think my basic response to everything will be solve the problem. Don't go in there, Clifford said it, don't deepen it too much, right? The market we're in Ghana, they understand very simple messaging. I have done this stuff with some of our clients where like, we have a particular type of content we create for them all the time. And then one day I'm like, can we switch it up? We switch it up and then it's zero. Nobody responds. There's no engagement, there's nothing. So I'm like, okay, we understand that this is the audience we have. This is how they understand our message. So as much as you want to experiment and try new things, if you try 1, 2, 3 and far, don't do it. Stick with what is working, because you keep repeating that, you keep recording, that's data analysis. You're finding out that, okay, if I post at 8 a.m., people interact more than when I post at 12 a.m. So why are you posting at 12 a.m.? Because intuitively, you want to post at 12 a.m. I don't know who sees, but because we are human, sometimes we want to break out of the norm, we want to try new things, but then stick to what is working and learn how to translate the thing that your end user needs to hear through your creative process and then deliver that. Yeah.
And talking about markets, you know how the market is saturated when it comes to social media, tech, photography, right? And I'd like to ask, and this question goes to all of you, right? And how do you break through the noise and then capture the attention of your audience? Yeah, I think I'll start with James.
I think it's a very iterative process, if you should ask me. I'll use Sculpt as an example. This year, we said we were going to go big on what we call space branding.
Yeah.
What do we mean by space branding, environment branding? I think you guys are seeing the cool things around, right? We wanted to do a lot of interior design, visualizations, and stuff like that. But through the years, I think about 2 years in a row, we've been running an impact project where we called Design the Next. It's basically about making children or young people, or moving the next change makers by design.
Right.
Design is being intentional, it means strategy, it means having a plan. And we realized this didn't just push us, it gave us certain gigs that we couldn't get 3 years ago. And we were sitting there like, we actually have a very big trajectory we could run on, but we have shifted focus. Realizing impact is like our focus. That's where we said our unique selling point now is impact. We've had to shape our profile. Our website is not up yet because we've shaped content almost every day. When we feel like we want to develop this website, we go through our content and realize we are changing this. What has done for us running on the impact trajectory is why we even have what we have now, Brand Up, where we are saying, why don't we involve, why don't you roll in people, why don't we make everybody at least get what we do for free. Let's share our minds, let's make people big, let's grow Ghana together, let's grow Africa together. And I think it has been good for us, it has been really good. So I think it's sometimes very difficult to identify how to, quote unquote, I don't like that word, stand out. Right? It's very difficult, I don't lie about it, but put your head to the ground, voice of my eyes, see. Right? And it's sometimes very tiny, extremely tiny. Extremely tiny. It could be selling oil, it could be even running an NGO. And everyone is doing children. Okay, I want to do children. Right now, the big thing is sports. People are moving into using sports, using children within the sports area to grow their impact project. It's cool, but maybe there's one thing that you have to find. You won't find it in books. Me, like, you can read all the entrepreneurship books. You can do ChatGPT, how to find my unique selling. You won't find anything. But look deep, you find it. Once you find it, connect the dots, and I think you'll be able to stand out.
Yeah, you're about to take. I see you do amazing things on your social media with storytelling, especially with the content. And you know, as I said earlier, the market is saturated with a lot of people doing this. How do you break through the noise and stand out? And how are you different from these other people?
I think when people are asked the question of authenticity,
And I see you out of that you're trying to build a community. So if you could also add that, yes.
why are you putting me on the spot? Yeah, like I was saying, when people get asked the question of being unique or authenticity, they think of the surface, the flashy stuff. What's your style? Where's your technique? You know, what does your profile look like? How do you look when you come out? But for me, that uniqueness starts from inside, where nobody sees. It starts from how you interact with the people that you work with. It starts from punctuality. It starts from your delivery time when you commit to project. It starts to your dedication to the things that you're actually doing. That is where your uniqueness comes out, because you stand up and say, why is this client attached to this creator like that? You'll be wondering, why? Is there a magnet? Is there something that is causing them to not want to break away from this agency, from these people? It's because they have created a certain uniqueness with that person, with that brand. And for me, when it comes to standing out, one thing me and my team always fight about is being on time. If we've ever done any project, I'll be there an hour early if I don't have to. I don't need to be there an hour early because maybe my setup would take 30 minutes because it's not intensive, or maybe my setup would take 2 hours, so I'll be there 4 hours early. It's the things that nobody is looking at, like James said, it's the minute things.
Right.
It's how maybe after creating content for a client, you call them and say, hey, how did it do online? What was the response? Did people like it? Is there anything we can do better next time? It's the relationships you keep, even with the people that you work with. It's more than just how you are represented outside. It's more than just what's in your bio. It's more than just your title. It's more of when we rip off the flashy stuff, when we take your face off the brand, what does your business as a creator, what does it stand for, right? And for me, across board is, like I'll say, solving the problem. After this connect, you can call me solving the problem, I'll take that. For me, it's making sure that you are doing what you went there to do, right? One thing that I love about the team as Sculptor is you see them celebrating clients' birthdays. I love that about them. They're like, bring your cake and stuff. I'm like, I want to be your client. Who doesn't want cake on their birthday? Everybody wants cake, right? So the things that people don't see when you turn off the cameras, when you go offline, are the things that make you unique. It's how you spend up to 2 a.m. trying to make sure that the photo editor, you zoom in until the last pixel to the thing nobody will see online, the vector nobody will see, that's why you're masking. That is what makes you unique, is your dedication to what you're actually doing, to how you're solving the problem that makes you stand out. So when standing out comes to like the picture, for me is look inside. Are you actually solving the problem, or you're covering up on the surface trying to look like you solved the problem? I've met quite a number of people like that. I won't name names. But when it comes to standing out, make sure you're solving the problem. Look within. That is where your uniqueness will come. 2,000 people may not know you. You may not be celebrity famous, but then your uniqueness is the one client you have has been with you for 7 years, and they're consistently satisfied with your service. That's uniqueness. This year, I said I was going to stop hiding. That's why I'm sitting here. Because I'm not an outside person. I like to, keep to myself. I like my small room. But this year, I did my very first social media masterclass. It was challenging to do that because for me, it meant coming out of my shell and talking.
Right.
I love talking, but selectively. I only talk when I really feel like it, and that's very rare. I had to prepare for it. I asked her, what are the questions? Send them to me so I can prepare. I like to talk selectively. So for me, having to do a class that was like over 2 hours just talking about the things that I knew, running social media, strategies, businesses, bringing startups from like not having social media presences at all to like having some, it was challenging. And then, as expected, after the webinar happened, we had a community, a WhatsApp community that was thriving. You know, we're happy in there. And then like 2 days later, I ditched them. I didn't say anything in the group again, I disappeared. And then I came back like a week later, I'm like, hey, here's the slide deck from the webinar, bye-bye. When it comes to, you know, building other people's things, we're excited.
Yeah.
We're happy, we are enthusiastic. I made a post recently on my page the other time asking, why is there a problem with creatives when it comes to doing things that are free? We will do it. If your friend asks you to design a logo, oh, you do it, you impress them. But then sometimes the same creative gets a project that they're being paid for, but then this time they don't have as much creative freedom. There is a timeline, and then they're dragging their feet, and then it's taking so much time to get that thing done. It's just because we are people of freedom. When it comes to, let me do it and make an impression, you do it. But the moment there are restrictions involved in that same thing, you feel like, oh, you're squeezing me. I can't really get this thing done. So back to my community, I ditched them, and then that was March. This month, I went back to them and was like, hey, how you doing? I'm here. So I started reviving that community again. It's hard to keep up. I'm consistently in there daily asking, what are you doing? What are your questions? What can I help you with? And building a community for yourself, for the thing that you do, I will say is key, because I tell a lot of my clients, outside of the pages I manage for you online, you need a community that you control. You cannot just have Instagram as your only marketing platform. You need a website, you need email campaigns, you need a WhatsApp community, you need these people's contacts so you can reach out to them. Because there were times that there were Instagram outages, and everybody went into panic mode. What will I do? My business has failed. Instagram is gone. Facebook is down. WhatsApp is down. What will I do? Right? But then if you build a separate funnel, if you build a separate community out of the thing that you're doing online, if something like that happens, you're like, hey, my people, I know the social medias are down, but then here's what's happening. So building communities is basically, you know, outside of all the flashy stuff you're doing, how do you organize the core people who are interested in the thing you're doing to come together and build that thing off of, how do you say it? Off of the internet, right? So it's basically just like trying to stay consistent. I knew Joshua has like a really great community.
Yes.
outside. I've been following his journey. He has like a great skill for just like building communities. I truly admire that. I aspire to be like him, to be honest, because I can't keep up. I can do it for other people. When it comes to me, I'm like, can I just get some sleep? But yeah, so I would say it's an encouragement. She put me on the spot. I told you before, I rant a lot when I don't know what I want to say. So when it comes to building communities for yourself, put in the work. Even if it's going to take a lot more hours than you expect, just do it. Graphic designer, have a community of the people that work for you.
And it's amazing how you find people are really interested
They
in this.
are.
They are literally waiting for someone to come up and say,
Yes.
okay, I've started a
And for
community.
me, it's surprising how people actually ask questions, give their
Yeah.
opinions, and say things on these platforms that I didn't know they were waiting for me to say anything. But until I said it, I got responses. So yeah, I'll stop talking now. Thank you.
Joshua, what does it take? Community building with storytelling.
So I think I already spoke about that, but one thing I would say is community is really built on relatability.
Right.
If we think alike, we are most likely going to tag along.
Exactly.
And like one simple thing that you can do to quickly realize that you have a lot of people like you is to talk about what you think. Just say, I have this thought. Why? Then you just say it. And then people are like, oh yeah, I have the same thought.
Right.
So through that process,
People
people begin to
actually
feel
waiting
like,
for
oh,
you.
I mean, this guy is not so intimidating. We're pretty much very similar. And then you guys start to build a bond from there. But I think one thing that is happening now that is so not cool is a lot of people will start. There's this book called 1,000 True Fans. And it's around the concept that you only need 1,000 true fans to really make it. So the person is making the case based on the idea that imagine you have 1,000 true fans, right?
Right.
And you have a course and it's $1. That means every single person is going to buy it because they are 1,000 true fans. And automatically you have $1,000. You have a $10 course. So what social media has done is it has made people become numbers. So when you look at 5,000 followers, you see 5,000, but not 5,000 people. Imagine filling a stadium with 5,000 people or an auditorium. That's a lot of people. But social media has downsized their relatability to that 5,000 people that somebody who has 500 followers think, oh, I don't have a community. It's not just 500 people. That's 500 people.
Right.
That's a lot of human beings who are dedicating their time to watching your content. So once people reduce the expectation gap and actually get very real and see people not as numbers but as individuals, then the whole pressure is off. And then it allows you to be yourself.
Yeah.
This is a buzzword, but it allows you to be authentic. And through that authenticity and relatability, you can definitely build a crowd. And you don't need 1,000 followers to say, oh, I have a community. Because that's what keeps people trapped. The idea that they have to hit 10K, 15K, 20K before I mean something. But even if you change the lives of just two people,
That actually brings me to the
That's a
next
lot.
question. Yeah.
To be honest, as you earlier on mentioned, I don't like the word community. I think it's really used these days. There's a story of this seamstress who, I didn't use the seamstress, who, what she did was created a broadcast group, a broadcast list. What she does is that when she finds any nice design, she shares it to whoever is on there. Whoever is on that broadcast list. If you like the design, oh, hey. One of the biggest platforms where I think, I don't know, some people would underestimate is WhatsApp stories. I used to ask myself questions like, those who sell these thrift, those who sell these hair, those who sell these things, are they really making money? Because anytime I open my Snapchat, there are a billion. If I open there are a lot. And I decided to probe into it. Like, do you guys sell? Apparently what I realized was that whenever they posted, whatever they posted on their stories, you'd at least find someone who remembers that I need a dress.
Exactly.
So the community could be that big buzzword when we take it off and realize that we have an audience. We have people we are putting together. It could be people that has been intentional, like what we are doing now with Brand Up Connect. I think from here we have a WhatsApp group that I think will be sharing lots of ideas. If that's the intentional part, cool. If it's off, where I just have people who haven't met themselves together, I think it's still a community. Maybe sometimes putting tags and names to things make things a bit complicated sometimes.
Yeah, Clipper, so back to what you said about authenticity, right? So in a world where authenticity is very crucial, right? How do you ensure that your storytelling is it's authentic and basically also resonates with the audience as well?
I think you just have to have zero expectations, because it's the expectations that create that gap between whether it's accepted or not. I think I have this ideology where I always tell myself I jump off a cliff and I build my wings on the way down, because it's in that fall that you decide who you are and what you want to be.
Right.
A lot of people would build the wings let someone do test drive 2-3 times, see if it's working. That's cool. That's Ghanaians. That's how you have so much repeated businesses. Because they want to see it work first. But then I don't blame them. If you fail in Ghana, it's real. You are just one accident away from going bankrupt or from going broke forever. So there's validity to their doubtfulness. But what I would say is you have to be able to understand who you are first, which is exactly what you said. You have to master you. But once you master you, then you can take away the expectation and just start doing it. You'll be shocked that once you start, the thing that you were looking for would appear in the process. Most people try to discover it before they start. And it's usually an issue because we are so complicated as an organism that you are a fool to think you can figure yourself out before you actually start doing the thing. So in the process of actually doing the thing is where you discover the thing. So that's what I would say.
And what are some of the biggest challenges you face in telling these stories?
Authentic myself,
Yes.
some of the biggest
Yes.
challenges. It's thinking I know myself too well.
But I also have a question.
Yes.
Should your story always be true?
Like, it really depends on,
That's
I
when
think
it comes
that
in.
really depends on, I don't believe there's such a thing as truth. I think truth is a very subjective statement.
Should you always be authentic?
Like I said, it's a very subjective statement. So it's a question you ask yourself. So you look at yourself and ask yourself, what is going to be the best path for me to take here, right? But if you're looking externally, that's where it gets complicated, right? Because no one is you, right? For instance, look at like something as disastrous as war, right? But people say we are war heroes. But dude, you just dropped the bomb on 5 million people, but you are claiming yourself a war hero. So the truth is, it's a two-sided thing. The same way authenticity is a two-sided, like the two-way street. You might think, oh, this is me. And then someone will be like, this guy, the figure. Right? So if it's any other person but you, then it gets very complicated. But once it's just you, you know in your heart that you are doing your best, you are giving it all you have, and you're not being a liar. Because once you're lying, you know. Nobody has to tell you you're lying. Even when you're adding a little bit of it, you know that, Charlie, this one day I'd overdo. But once it's just you, then you're good.
Enough of that. I agree with everything, but fake it till you make it.
I was going to say that. I knew James would bring that up.
I have another side to it.
Yeah.
Fake it, make it when you fake it. Right. I honestly think we can go and exaggerate. We do it. When I start up, you say, I have my team, I'm going to consult my team.
And using the we are, but it's only
when
you.
you rather have a team, you start saying, I am. Right?
My team will get back to you.
Yes, I honestly think we can do it, right? But I think we really need to. That's where community comes to play, or partners, collaborations, right? I know I have never shot any drone of River Pra before, and you come and tell me, can you get me a tour of Ghana? Oh yeah, I can do it. Is it a lie or it's true?
Can you do it?
So there's a thing, I
To be
think,
honest, wait. To be honest, if come to shots, I can't do it. Because I honestly don't even know how to hold a camera.
you don't even have to do it yourself.
But because I know I can call Yaya, I can call Joshua, I'm going out talking big.
Yeah.
My question is, what if they fail me? But nevertheless, yes. What I honestly think is yes, being authentic is true, it's good. Always be ethical, be good. But when you decide to go out of your shells, do it. But always do it when you decide to lie. Try and tend the line.
Just a little bit of clarity on the authenticity bit with your example. If someone wants you to do a drone shot, I can help you do it is the answer, right? It's as simple as that. I can help you do it, right? Now that is taking the pressure off you. I think a lot of people, like I said, expectation gap. They wouldn't give me the job if I do not have a big team, if I don't give them the sense of like enlargements, I'm good. So you're afraid that if you tell them that, oh, I'm the one person doing this thing. Like there was a point in time where I ran my whole agency myself for like 2 years,
No.
right? And I did almost everything. And I'm a very well-rounded person when it comes to like everything, right? But then most people knew that I was doing everything myself. And what I'll tell them is, you're getting it quite cheaper because I'm doing it myself. If I had a team, you wouldn't be able to
Right.
afford it. Initially, I was afraid of telling them that I was just a single person because they would think, oh, big businesses are afraid of consistency. I mean, if you're just one person, what if something happens to you? What happens to our money, right? But I realized that those big businesses, they really can't even afford big teams anyway. You see?
Right.
So they are with you and they need you just as much as you need them.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
bigger ones who really have requirements, straight out to the bat, that requirement. That, oh, this is our rules, you have to be FDA approved, you have to have your GRA documentations, VAT invoices, like they let you know. But they'll, come again?
Get them and do it.
Get them on?
Tell them we have the team, we can do it.
Yeah, so there's that. So that's the thing. If you tell them you can help them, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to put together a small team of this person, of this person, of this person, of this person, and we're going to come together and help you do the work. I think the moment transparency comes in, a lot of clients just let down their guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And because there's no transparency in our industry, and everybody wants to make all the money themselves, then it gets very difficult. But once you start becoming transparent, so there's a web designer who I'm going to talk to and get back to you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make sure that everything goes according to
Yeah.
plan. So I'm
Yeah.
going to be here all this step of the way. There's this other graphic designer I want to bring on board. And then back to our community building, you can then work with these other people, even on pro bonus. Because, oh, Joshua thought about me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then what happens is when you even share it, then you are tagging all of these people. Oh, Charlie, we all worked on this. But those who do it themselves and have a lot of people behind them, when they put the work out there, Charlie, make you no go share this work, you know they inside. You see, because then the moment the cat comes out of the bag,
Yeah.
your client knows that, oh, you didn't do it yourself. I can go directly to the person.
Yeah.
And that's how the backdoor
Yeah.
soliciting things comes in. Now the client knows that James is very expensive, but James works with Yara. So if I go to Yara directly, I'm cutting James away. But from the get-go, if James had introduced Yara, the client would think that Yara is who she is because James was in the driver's seat directing the whole show. And going forward, it makes things so much easier.
Yeah.
And even the client going behind your back, they start feeling guilty that, hey, what if I go and Yara comes to tell James that I can't tell Charlie, nah, then they stop. So I think it's a fine line between
Yeah.
like being bold and taking on projects. Like I'm a risk taker. Like I said, I jump off the cliff and build my wings on the way down. Like I take serious risk, expensive risk, but I know that it's calculated and it's transparent. So you know what's at stake, and I know what's at stake. But I mean, you really can't afford a big team anyway. If you can, you wouldn't be here, right? And then we keep on going. So I think that's how I think of it.
Right. Great.
I want to pitch in a little on the transparency bit. Funny enough, you mentioned it. I've been having a lot of conversations about it recently. And I find that as creatives, we get frustrated when somebody says, can you give me a discount? And like, do you know how much is going into this? Do you know what I'm doing? Do you know why I'm charging this? They don't know. They do not know. So they're like, just give me 50% off and we'll all be fine. But then if you tell them why you're charging what you're charging actually, they'll be able to respect your pricing. So like just Joshua talking about transparency made me want to say that like, justify your pricing. If you don't, people will disrespect it. Ghanaians like bargaining, that's the thing. If you work with Ghanaian clients and you work with like Western clients, you realize that Ghanaians will bargain. Even if it's 2 cedis, they'll say, give it to me for 1 cedi, 50 pesos. It's a Ghanaian thing. So be transparent. Justify the reason why you're doing what you're doing, just so that you don't have to now come, when you're at point Q, you're like, I now have to come back to A and explain why I need 20,000 to finish this other thing at point Q. You have told them already, they have agreed already, so yeah.
Okay, so it's been a very great and impactful, insightful conversation, right? So this is the end of our conversation, and I hope you guys have had lots of insights, you have some takeaways. So in the meantime, we are going to take some questions from our audience. Any question?
Any questions from anyone? Yeah. My name is
Okay.
Eso, and I want to ask, how will you rejuvenate your storytelling but maintain authenticity? How will you um, rejuvenate your storytelling to appeal to a wider audience but maintain your authenticity and then not losing touch of your core base?
Joshua.
Well, I think I don't like to diagnose things, right? But in your question, there's a part that kind of bothers me. That's the part where you said to a larger audience, right? And like I said, there's always these expectations that make you feel intimidated, right? So you're feeling a little bit down. It's normal. It happens to all of us. The need, like the drive to keep going. Yes, some things take time, right? It's just you having the confidence to push through the hard bits and then keep going. Like if you stop, that's when you slow down. Momentum is built gradually as you go. So, I mean, it's normal. Sometimes you feel down. One thing I think helps me when I'm down is I speak to my friends, right? Daniel, for instance, is here. Daniel's like, I bother Daniel every single time I'm feeling like, Charlie, Ghana know the work. And then he's like, what are you talking about? So I sort of borrow his energy, and I borrow the energy of other creators. I see James post his weekly LinkedIn stories, and I'm looking at him like, Charlie, hey, see the banner design, the deal. And then I go and read the story, and like, maybe I need to write an article. So I sort of look at what other people are doing. It sort of inspires me, and then it gets me back on my toes. When I'm down, I speak to certain friends, tell them exactly what's going on, and then they tell me what they've been up to, and then it also helps. But like I said, I always use the word I, because I have discovered by mastering me that these are the things that push me towards that direction. So you have to look at yourself critically and understand what your motivational drivers are, and use that as a way to re-engineer your own interests, even if that means you have to sort of mechanize the process. You see, I hope I'm making sense. Yeah,
I
thank
want
you.
to add to it. You were talking about being authentic and then moving away from your circle to moving to a different audience. Like expanding your.
Your audience.
You want to expand your.
A larger audience.
Okay. This is me, right? These are the people I've worked with, or the people that I'm constantly in touch with. How many of these people are out there? Right? How do I reach these people? Let's say your audience are just 3, and there's a commonality among these people. How do I find 30 of these people? Right? And telling your authentic story, that the people are able to resonate with what you do and always are with you because of what you're saying. To be honest, the social media it has made everything, I think, simple. Joshua was talking about Sculptor posting weekly. It's him being transparent, right? The people that actually inspired this very thing, it's Kwabna. Kwabna was here earlier on, and Flaka is the one who does the design. It's a thing we're intentional about. Let's post every week, whether people are reading, whether there are engagements, whether there are no engagement. To be honest, it was getting frustrating at the time because you're like, are people even reading? Until when someone you're like, I'm reading your stuff. You guys on Insta are good. I'm like, then send your like.
Right, I mean.
You get it. But I realize that the more you are saying what you do, the more you are tapping into the energies of the people around you. You are growing that community of your immediate audience and extending it to the people with the core. What your core is. And meeting people at their core as well. I've answered you. Right.
And
I think
also,
there's a-
To add, it's just a thought. I read somewhere, someone was like, the average person on Instagram now has more followers than Jesus. So be grateful, because Jesus at his best got 5,000 people together.
Right.
Today, influencers are doing way more than that. So don't underestimate the small group that you have.
So we do know that having a brand is crucial to promoting a company, right? However, the idea behind the brand, how impactful is it to promoting that company, or an agenda?
Okay, I think I'll take that. The idea behind a brand, how impactful is it to what you do? I will take my company, for example, Fuvio. We started Fuvio in 2020, 2021 when there was COVID. And the basic idea behind that was, how do we get people at home to still look at products as though they were on the shelves? That was the basis, right? So we went and took a can of Coke. We're like, okay, let's make this Coke look fantastic enough for somebody to want to order it online. So we experimented, we tried things, we did things. We posted it, we got feedback, and then we tried that again. Now, Fuvio is able to stand up and say, bring Coke, I can shoot it. We have established in that area with that basic idea to the point where when you think product advertisement, when you think, I want this product to look a certain way, and you see as you're like, it matches. That is how an idea behind your brand can, push your brand to become the thing that it's supposed to be. One thing that I wanted to talk about mostly was when Abner asked about being authentic, is that don't be doing too much. Creators like to be a jack of all trades. A little bit design, a little bit development, a little bit videography. Pick one. Pick one and go at it. One thing I was also going to say when you asked your question was, growth is subjective. You can be growing by what you're posting online, or you can be growing at what you're learning by yourself inside, right? So the idea is what fuels you. The end user may not see that immediately. You might have to practice on that idea for 1 year before the end user will say, aha, this is the person that I need, right? So if you figure out the idea, the reason why you want your brand to be the thing that it is, practice, learn, don't stop learning. That's one thing I always say, do not stop learning. If you see an opportunity to learn something new, grab it. Don't say, I know too much. You see me in a social media basics class, why am I there? I have the knowledge of that. Why? I want to know what the new generation is saying. I want to know what somebody who started social media last year is saying. It's not because I don't know it. So if you find that one thing, keep doing it until you become known for it. That is how you push that idea from idea phase to being known, and that pushing the vision for your brand. I hope I answered your question.
So there's what I would recommend a course on Coursera. It's one of the things anyone who works in Sculptor starts with. It's called Aligning Brand, Business, and Behavior. There are 3 things to every business. There's the business side of it, there's a brand side of it, and there's experience. I'll use going on a date. Should I use women or men? Okay. You're a woman. You've been speaking on the phone. You haven't been speaking on the phone. Hi. Whatever, you decide to meet. You send this boy, a fine boy. He draws, like, oh, this boy, I would want to know him. Right? You have your specs. Maybe he fits 6.2. The rest you know. Right? Then you start speaking to this person, and it's like his English is way off. Right? He has some accent, and you're like, hey guy, realize it's a big turn off. Right? The brand caught your attention, experience was terrible.
Right.
Or maybe the way he was even eating at the table. I don't know. It turned you off. Right? How do you align that brand, the experience, with your business? That is love. Right? You're looking for love, or maybe you're looking for something else. Right? Just like businesses, I sell Wachi. Right? I sell Wachi. What's my brand? And my brand is Antimuni. I know we think of brand as having a very big, sophisticated logo, colors, identity, those things. Not saying they are not good, they are good. But it's an Antimuni. Everybody's talking about Antimuni as words, right? That's your brand. The name, the perception around it, Antimuni. First experience, maybe because you've heard how nice it is, you'd go there and then the person serving you is angry. And because of how angry she was at that very moment, she maybe gave you half willy instead of the willy with the meat. Now, how do you call it? What is overrated though, right? So,
No, please.
in aligning your business, your core is always core. Don't drift from your business. Study the market. Look at what it is. Your brand, how do I represent myself? Do you want to run faceless or you want to run with a face? Like, study those things. Study what you want your brand to be like. Beyond the face, your experience. I'll give you, the way we package every single thing in Sculptor is one of the reasons why someone will say, I want a call card. I wish I could point someone the client, but the way we package, they might sometimes not even want a call card, but because the way the packaging is, I want a call card, right? So, I don't know if I've answered your questions, but always look at aligning your business, your brand, and your experience.
I think there was a hand there. Could you please introduce yourself before you proceed with your question?
Okay, my name is Malvin. I'm a developer. So we have businesses and startups and their founders. Now, in recent times, from my own observation, I've realized that people sort of relate more to the founders, or the stories of the founders resonate with them as compared to that of the business. So, for example, Elon Musk as a character is more popular than probably, let's say, Tesla or SpaceX or any of the companies he's founded or worked with. So, in telling a story, when do you consider telling the story from the person's perspective, as in the founder or the business owner, as against from the business perspective, as in what the business is solving or the problem the business is trying to solve?
Okay. Let me answer. CEO activism is like the new buzzword, right? Where everyone is trying to be a cool CEO. People are hiring people to be doing LinkedIn for them every single day. People are trying to be on podcast, YouTube. Everybody is trying to go out there. Is it cool? Is it not cool? Honestly, I really honestly think if you are a strategic, if you are a CEO, who you are probably you are good at driving sales, you are good at driving growth, you are good at driving all of these things, and you don't have that aura. I don't think it's necessary, right? How do you channel the conversations along the lines of things that people will like? How do you tell stories along those lines? Is your character welcoming? If some of us will speak and nobody even cares. They say controversies and some of us can even be controversial and nobody cares. It's like walking in a room. In every class, there will definitely be like 5 popular people. Should you say because I'm a reserved person, I'm a very good footballer, I should go and be making noise because I'm a loud person? I'll only show you what I can do. If I be shark, you go know me for Brilla inside if you come to sec. Right? So basically that, know when to run your business as on the tangents of people, and know when not to run your business on the tangent of people. I said earlier on, Sculptor has been running very faceless for a long time. People have seen Sculptor, but they never knew what's behind it. We've been running a lot of things behind. We do our things, correct. We go and collect our gigs, collect. Hey, what am I saying? Correct. Correct. Well, come and sit, and we let people make the noise. Right. This year, I earlier on mentioned that we decided, we asked ourselves, do we want to still go faceless or go with faces? And that's when we said we are going all out this year. We are doing big things, and we want you guys to do big things with us. Are we just going out by doing the whole fake it till you make it, wear big kaftans, go for network events, like do all the things that we feel are supposed to do in terms of being a cool boss? we had a strategy. Let's come out as a knowledge house. Let's individuals position themselves. Go out there. You even know who the founder is. You know who the CEO is. Wherever it is, let's just go out there and tell our stories with people now, right? So I always think you should always find a balance between when to tell your story as a business and when to tell your story as a person.
And what I'd want to add to that is, before you even start creating for any business, understand if it's a person-driven brand or it's a passion-driven brand. There are brands I've seen succeed. There are brands I work with that nobody knows who the CEO is, but the brand is fantastic. Everybody loves them. But then there are brands also that I've seen that the CEO is trying to detach and everything is falling apart, right? So understand what area it is, and then don't try to cross them too much. If it's working that way, try and build on that and keep it moving. Don't do too much intersection. Yeah.
I think there was one hand. Yeah.
Okay, let me take him and then I'll take the two
I think
ladies.
you've had a lot of men. Can we have a woman?
Yes.
There's a lady.
And then we take the ladies and we'll
All right, cool. My name is Chu. So, I want to ask, storytelling is very crucial, but where do we draw the lines? Because now, is it everything that you have to say, every story you have to tell? Maybe, like you say, you are going to buy Watch It, the Watch It Force. You see that they are writing it, talking about it. Like, as a brand, where do we draw the lines? Is it like he was talking about transparency and truth? Is it everything that has to come out?
I want to ask you a question. Who's your favorite artist?
How do you think about it? I think Stoneboy.
Stoneboy. Yesterday, Stoneboy graduated.
It came to mind, right?
Did you hear certain stories? Again, the Odashi said. Did he come and say he paid something? Whether you tell your story or not, someone will tell it for you.
Yep. Yep.
So you better tell your story and tell it right.
Hi, I'm Kezia. My question is a bit practical. I wanted to ask Yaira, how do you get clients, I mean your Gen X clients, to align with you on your content ideas? I mean, it's storytelling, right? But we know these Gen X clients have a very rigid headspace when it comes to pushing their products
Or is it
online.
boomers?
They're very hardcore product sales. So how do you get them
right.
to align
Some boomers.
on your content ideas? That's the first question. The second question is, how do you manage the expectations when it comes to the performance on your content online?
Yeah.
I mean, we know there's the algorithm which controls everything, but
Yeah.
the success on it is based on the numbers and the engagement, etc. But you know, you have this wild idea, you have this storytelling way of pushing the product, and then you post the content and the numbers are like not doing well.
Yeah.
How do you manage the expectations?
Okay. Just to clarify, which one is Gen X again? The one before Z. Great, thank you. So, great question. The older ones, yeah, great. Thank you for that question. I've actually worked with the Gen X group of clients before. They told me, show the function of the product. All that fancy lights you are doing, we don't want it. That's after I had done a whole campaign. And I sat there and I was like, oh my goodness. We had an initial meeting. They were like, we like what you do. They gave me the vision. We did the mood board. Ideas were flying off the chart. We finished the project. They're like, I'm not seeing my product. I was like, okay, back to the drawing board. We went back to the drawing board. We're like, how do we fuse what we do with the knowledge that they are giving us? They're like, if it's this thing, show that it has red lights. Then it has the screen. Show the battery, everything. They want to see everything. So what we did was, we revisited the idea and we brought people into it. We brought people using the product. We showed how you press the button. We kind of Gen Z'd their idea a little bit, made sure that it looked nice, it's appealing to the audience they want to get to, but then also showed their messaging in there. When we wanted to do it, they said no. We won't pay for it. So my team and I were like, okay, let's show them. So they were like, the only thing we can do is provide lunch for you guys. So we called our friends, we called everybody we knew who could help in. We gathered, we did the project. It took a full day. Everybody was tired. It was free. We gave it to them. We're like, put it on your page. And they're like, what if it doesn't do well? What if people unfollow our page? We're like, just post the damn thing. Post it and see what happens. So they posted it, and people started ordering. Somebody's like, I want that. I want the whole set of the thing that's in the video. And then they came back, they're like, can we create more? I'm like, now I will charge you, because you made me suffer, right? So it's finding, sometimes you have to do a lot more to make them understand the reason why they should do the thing a certain way, just because they are used to a specific type of marketing. So you have to kind of show them a little more than you would with a normal, modern times client. And when it comes to putting the content online and managing expectations, at the beginning of every social media project, I tell them, I am just helping you manage your business online. I'm just helping you put your products out there. Now, there are 1,000 things we can do to make sure that people see you. We can run ads, we can do influencer marketing, we can do UGC content, we can do all these things. But then if you're happy to fund it, I can organize it. Again, be transparent. Don't tell them, me, I can make you blow. I can't make you blow. That's the truth. I've not made myself blow yet. Blow, right? Be transparent with them. Make sure that whatever you're telling the client, you can do it. If there's anything that's coming at a separate cost, or there's anything that needs to be done by another group, make sure they are aware. So that way, when you post and it has 2 likes, they know I need to run sponsored ads for that 2 likes to go to 10 likes. But if they don't know and you tell them, oh, we can post for you, in 30 days you get 20,000 followers, and they're still at 800 followers, you have case. And that one, only God can save you, because you have brought yourself into that situation. So I think in the earlier conversation, they talked about contracts, NDA, stuff like that. Make sure that before you start any project, state it clearly. Even after my contract, I still send for your information document, because I can never be too sure. Just so that if somebody goes back and say, but I didn't blow up like you said, I'm like, but I told you this, and you signed it, so we agreed on it. So be transparent. Let them understand to the basics of the basics what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you shouldn't have any problems. Yeah.
I think one thing I want to add to what she's saying is, and I think this is very crucial that everybody understands, that the generation you're talking about, they currently feel very left out. Like, the world they were raised up in is so different than the world we're in now.
Yeah.
So when you always say explain, like, they really do need it.
Yeah.
Because they don't really understand how it works. But then they're also not asking for help. And because they are leaders, they're much older, they will always want to take the position of, yeah, I know what I'm doing. But to be very honest, most of them don't understand. So you find that they often gravitate towards service providers who love to teach them things, or who love to show them how things work. And they begin to appreciate you more, because guess what? The story you tell your client, they're going to tell their friends.
Yep.
They're going to, oh yeah, look at this new app that I found. So for instance, there's this little workshop that I do. I call it AI for Oldies. And I got the idea from this whole born before computer thing, which has been the one excuse that all of these people use against us. Oh, this one, I was born before computer. It was a huge pain in the neck for them. It's either their sons and their daughters that teach them how to use these new technologies, or no one else. A lot of them can't even navigate YouTube to learn themselves. So I was like, maybe this is like that thing coming all over again, but with AI.
Yeah.
And I tested it out, and mind blowing. You won't believe the number of people above the age of 45, 50 who like are crazy for this thing, but they just don't have anybody to show them how it works. So sometimes let's be compassionate and empathetic, and not come from a place of defense, but then rather just accommodate their quote unquote ignorance and bring them into a place of knowledge.
Yeah.
And they would appreciate you forever for it.
Okay, so we'll take one more question.
Gifty, I think you've kind of answered my question while asking you, just in case you can see it. In storytelling, you're working with other people, especially in regards to the clients that you're working for. And you have different personalities. Is there such a thing as compatibility as a factor playing into that storytelling? because I'm somewhat a little bit of an amateur graphic designer, and I've ever heard a client say, our personalities don't match. And that had me wondering, actually, yes, it doesn't match, because she was really energetic, and you have probably the other designer being a little more laid back. And like I could really get where she was coming from. So I'm just wondering, how do you navigate such situations when you have either a client or a partner they are working with whose personalities don't match with yours?
Okay. I would say that at the start of for me, everything is at the start, you know. Once you go after one, whatever it is after, they have to deal with it. At the very step one, where you do your discovery session, get to know the client, know about their brand, that is where you know if you want to go forward with this person or not. There are projects that after the discovery session, I tell them, sorry, it's not gelling. I'm trying, but our energies are not matching. I don't think we can do this together. I mean, of course, I can't go and tell you our energies are not matching, but then you can just tell from the conversation, the information the person gives you. Sometimes you get on a discovery call, mind-blowing, like ideas are flowing, the conversation is going, you're like, yeah, this is the project. But then there are certain projects, after the call, you just tell your team, this one's not happening ever, right? So from the very stage where you start the project, as technical as you're going to be in your field, you need to also use your emotions, like gauge the conversation, see how it's going. Is this going to work out? Is this going to, not work out before you dive deep into it? Sometimes you see the red flags, but then we do need the money too. So you're like, you know what, I'll deal with it. And then 3 weeks down the line, they've sent you 20 corrections and you're like, I should have known. But you knew, right? So at the very stage where you start, figure out if you're ready to deal with the stress or not. If you're not, don't do it.
I think there are jobs to settle bills.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there are jobs that are like passion driven.
Right.
But if you know this job is to pay money, I want a cross, you give the person a cross. Dash, oh, another dash, okay. Another one, okay, correct. Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of the business aspect of all of these. Because you need to pay bills anyways. All right, I think we have come to the end of this conversation, and I like the fact that it's still stimulating. People are willing to talk more and gives us reason to organize the next section soon. We'll announce the date soon.